Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Diplomacy Timing Window, where the rules are discussed and our opinions don't matter. My name is the Half Herd.
I'm Kazadoom.
And I'm Hungry Hippos.
And on today's episode, we are going to objectively debate both sides of the prevalent X-1 trade meta, whether it is the greatest thing to come to Twilight Wars since the reboot of Reboot, or if it is the bane of all existence. I, the impartial and absolutely objective, the Half Herd, with my TI Wars lose-win ratio of undefined, will moderate the debate today. This vigorous debate today will be represented by two masters of Twilight Imperium for debating. In the first corner, we have, with a TI Wars lose-win ratio of yes, arguing for the ridiculous X-1 medal to continue, Kazadoom!
Yay!
And in the opposing corner, with a TI Wars lose-win ratio of almost Kazadoom, arguing against the ridiculous X-1 meta, is Hungry Hippos. All right, now, master debaters, I want enlightened, civilized, and vigorous arguments with minimal personal jabs at each other's characters. What you can expect from me is to remain calm or instigate as appropriate, while also keeping our masters from digressing here. So topic number one, why do we have the X-1 meta pop up so much these days in our beloved Twilight Wars app? Kazadoom, the floor is yours.
Well, without it, the trade strategy card is basically garbage. You might as well pick diplomacy.
All right, I just cannot abide. The diplomacy strategy card affects the entire table. There are so many decent planets out there, and you don't want to make your card help everyone else on the table. So the trade strategy card, giving you 3 trade goods, a replenish of commodities, and a choice to replenish whoever you else want on the table. I'd say that's pretty decent. Granted, the secondary ability is probably a little garbage, but the free refresh is what allows you to develop those relationships.
Yes, but I mean, it's very comparable to diplomacy because you still have to spend a command counter to get somewhere, to get adjacent to someone. And in the end, even if I refresh you for free, it is a service that I provide with the trade strategy card. And that's why I deem this, at least for the cost of 1 commodity, is a fair price for this grand gesture of kindness that I extend towards my trade neighbors.
I mean, I can't disagree stronger. The diplomacy, everyone has to spend their token and they get whatever planet they want to refresh. And that could be quite strong. But the whole point behind trade, and I think is an integral part of the entire TI experience, is the creation of alliances. It's why we have promissory notes. It's why the trade card is actually so good. By allowing that free refresh and the guaranteed trade with that person, you're not only helping yourself, you're helping the other person, you're helping support an alliance, and that will help you in the long term. And those alliances will go very far. There's so many good games where just one character, one faction helped at the right time will make your life so much easier.
I agree there, but you can still, if you trade with everybody and you cash in 1 trade good per trade, you can gain a significant amount of cash while nobody's really angry at you immediately because you don't exclude anybody from the trades.
I mean, just by the picture here, you can see Space Kitties are the only ones that actually can do that to the entire table. But it makes no sense. Why would you want to help the entire table? It's counterintuitive.
Because it helps you more than the table.
No, I mean, minimally, right? Because these other people are going to trade with each other, and so it's. I don't think that's valid.
No, but the point of X-1 is the people have to trade with you, so they can't trade with each other.
But they can't trade only with you because there's not enough commodities to go around. Exactly. And you can't do anything with your commodities. Like, they must be traded, just like theirs must be traded. So they are in effect useless to you unless people, agree to this silly X-1 meta, when really it only makes sense that you would do it with key allies so that you don't lose those ships unnecessarily to someone who you're battling. Instead, be their ally, use the carrot, not the stick in certain circumstances, and your life will be a lot less hectic with your slice.
Thank you, gentlemen. That was very profound and heartfelt. Very, very deep from both of you. I appreciate it. Moving on to the second talk. Yes, lots of passion. Let's keep it up. Moving on to the second topic. So what are the implications to flow? And Hungry Hippos, you'll take the floor.
I mean, a lot can be said with flow in the TI Wars app. We named our entire thing a timing window, like the diplomacy timing window. It doesn't exist, but timing windows are a thing in this app, and in any case are a thing even in real life. But, you know, the whole point of the game, it allows you the opportunity for a negotiation.
Kazadoom, your counter argument.
I mean, in the end, yes, it allows for negotiation, but it's just such an easy concept that if you are the person holding the trade strategy card, you can profit immensely if people agree to the X-1. It's just something that you can pop out there to the whole table, and people who want to join in will join in. The more, the better for you. So,
but again, if it would only work if people realize that commodities are useless just sitting in your own bank. You must trade them. It is a whole point of the negotiation. It's not just about getting more trade goods. You can use commodities to negotiate for promissory notes. You can use commodities to negotiate for anything. And you can always just negotiate by having a simple 3-3, 4-4, 2-2 trade. It doesn't help make those alliances and that negotiation, which is a strategic part of the game, and it's what makes it fun.
Yeah, but by the amount of people actually paying for the secondary, it doesn't look like people are willing to do that.
I mean, paying for the secondary is almost another argument in itself, depending on how many commodities you have. But I think that it goes beyond needing to pay for it. It's the whole point of the secondary is allows you to choose who to refresh, and that allows for strong negotiation stances for creating powerful alliances. I don't see this X plus or -1 meta being I think it's silly. It makes those who are asking for it seem like they're just trying to take advantage of a situation that is already powerful in its own right, and they're just unimaginative.
Thank you. That was a knowledgeable and intense debate, and I look forward to more. Moving on to point number 3. How does this meta impact factions with only 2 commodities in their commodity pool? Of course, the examples being the Barony, Mentak, Lizix, Yin, Cabal, Titans, who actually, you know what, who cares about the Titans? They're just, if you trade with the Titans, then you're just a bad person. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. Just please refer to our diplomacy timing window episode 5 for further details. Kazadoom, the floor is yours.
I mean, if you are one of those factions and you grab the trade card, you can cash in so many trade goods.
I mean, why don't I just go die in a gutter? If I have 2 commodities and I give this X-1, it's like, what's the point? Like, just clicking a button is almost not even worth it.
I mean, yes, one trade good is technically better than none, but I have to admit, if I play one of these factions, I usually don't pay for the refresh unless I can spice up the trade with other stuff. Like tossing in a trade agreement that can be sold further and stuff like that. It doesn't make sense to refresh. I completely agree there.
Yeah, but when you have the TA, the trade agreement on the table, and that's kind of something you're using to hope to get a full refresh, it's almost like, again, why don't I just go die in a gutter? I'm not going to get any trade goods next round if it's chosen for trade. I just feel like it's more than feeling. I am certain that it's just not the right way to go about getting a full refresh.
Honestly, if I
And
can
wash,
get
I should say wash.
if I can, like, if I'm a two trade good commodity faction and I can get two commodities or trade, like two trade goods out of trade once, if I'm not playing trade, I'm completely happy.
I can't. I don't know. Mentec maybe because you're getting trade goods from stealing because you're pirates. However, say like the barony, when you need those trade goods because of munitions reserves. Like you can't be just giving your trade agreement out willy-nilly because those munition reserves, when your flagship gets go moving, oh my gosh, so powerful.
Pick trade away your two commodities and cash in 10 commodities, 10 trade goods by trading with the whole table as X-1 player. Perfect.
But that's not X-1.
Sure it is.
X-1 guarantees the trade. You can't trade with everyone on the table with X-1 when you only have two commodities. You can
Why? I just give away I trade trade goods for the commodities and get one more trade good at the end of the day.
Well, if everyone on the table is doing that, then everyone on the table deserves to lose.
Well, everybody needs a trade good, so sometimes that happens. But they don't have to. It's just an offer, and if I get if they don't take me up on it, it's okay too.
Yeah, to each their own. If you're silly like that, you want to make someone ridiculously trade good happy, then why don't I just go die in the gutter?
And on that note, I'm going to cut you guys off there. Hippos, thank you for your acute assertions, and Kaza, your wise wisdom. But we're going to move on to the next point. Topic number 4, the value of a commodity. Is it equal to a trade good? Now, we've kind of touched on this before. I want you guys to go into a little bit more depth. So Hippos, you lead us, please.
All right. So I think this is key. It's key to understand. You pull trade, the X-1 situation doesn't make sense because commodities are not useful to you. The whole point and the concept that the game created for this was it necessitated you to trade with your partners, people who you are right next to. You are very much likely to want to attack them because you want more slice, but it allows to make TI so great is there's so many different ways to go about winning the game. The commodities are useful only when they're given to someone else.
I'm enraptured. Kaza, your counterpoint.
I mean, why wouldn't they be? I give you one, you give me one back, and that's a 1-for-1 trade, basically, just creating value out of thin air. So yes, commodities are basically trade goods in disguise. You just need someone to trade with. So,
but I feel like you're almost helping me because a 1-to-1 is fair as long as it's with the right person, an ally.
Yeah,
so
but
to speak.
the whole point of X-1 is not that the trade is unfair. The thing is that the refreshing action is valued as one trade good or commodity, and that creates the imbalance in the trade because I provide a service for you while you don't do anything that anybody else couldn't do on the table.
I feel as though that I should stop saying I feel. The idea behind allowing certain people to refresh versus, say, the whole board, should you get this X-1 from the whole board, is it benefits select groups. And these select groups can go about creating value for you on the board in different ways. Otherwise, we're just all battling each other all the time, and this, trade goods are useless. So
I mean, the point that I want to make is that if you can't cash in on the trade card, you pick a strategy card, which is a very important part of the game, which would allow you to do a lot of different great things, just to give somebody else the same amount of cash that you get, aside from the +3 trade goods.
Aside from, yeah, exactly. But
so basically what you do is you pick it just for 3 trade goods, and then the person you trade with actually has a more useful card and the same amount of trade goods that you have. So you actually make your trade partner stronger than yourself.
Okay, I see what you mean there, except I feel like I need to bring about the title of our show, the diplomacy timing window. Diplomacy, it's a mechanism in the game. And with it comes some great powers. I mean, how many times have you won a game because you were able to back pocket a ceasefire or a trade agreement so you can get that objective? The diplomacy is huge.
Did anybody ever send you a ceasefire for commodities? I doubt that. Severely.
I mean, if I requested something and it required a little extra, then I'll add in some of my extra commodities if that's a thing. I know. I think I'm one of my games. I'm gonna get. I'm hopefully to get a ceasefire and some commodities from someone, just so that I don't. Just so that we can become new allies.
Yeah.
I don't know about you listeners, but this is some scholarly and overpowering debate. I am thoroughly loving it. Let's keep it up. We have a few more to go. On to I believe we're on topic number 5. Why not just pay the strategy token to do the secondary? Kazadoom, I believe it's your turn.
I mean, in the end, paying one trade good is just such a good deal, especially because you pay it from the stuff you get for free. And even if you paid your strat token, you then have 3 useless commodities that you have to find a partner to trade with that also has to pay their token for it, which means that for whatever resources you generate, you basically pay 6 influence, which is a very bad deal.
So from the outset, one could think, yes, why don't people use the command tokens more often to get the secondary? Well, it requires a little bit more finagling negotiation on the front end. And for those who have 2 commodities as their maximum, it becomes not as helpful. However, late game, a lot of people have a lot of tokens, some more than they know what to do with. And if you have a lot of people like that, and you have one person on the board who's kind of taking it away, then it's time to spend those tokens to help each other out with trade goods, because tokens aren't going to buy you ships, and tokens aren't going to buy you. Actually, they're going to buy you objectives. There's 2 objectives that tokens will buy you. But the point I'm trying to make is trade goods are more valuable because they will buy you ships, which will stop the person who's in the lead.
That I agree with, but why not just pick the trade card and do it for free if that's so important to you? And I mean, yes, you can always trade influence for trade goods, but that's only good with factions that have 4 commodities, I think. 3 is borderline. With 4, it's good. With 3, if you have a good partner, then it's okay. So yeah.
Trade goods, I think, are quite versatile. And so if the command tokens are there late game, and we all know they are, early game they're not, then this becomes viable if you can start to make those alliances to make sure that someone else is not doing away with the game.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for the learned arguments. Moving on to point number 6. Doesn't this just make the trade strategy card a little bit too OP for the faction that chooses it? Hungry Hippos, what are your thoughts?
So obviously, I think the trade strategy card is stupid OP. I mean, having the position that X-1 is silly, I am not going to be a hypocrite and start asking the table for it. Also, because of all the other arguments that I made, I don't want to make the entire table rich. I want to make myself and potentially one key ally that much better off. So, having that ally there that's not going to attack you, that's not going to take my ships or my planets, and is going to make the other side of the board a little bit more cautious. That's worth it. That's strong.
Kazadoom, your counter argument.
Well, I mean, it is a well-deserved buff. It is one of the most versatile cards. It gives you a lot of options, and just having the X-1 in a repertoire is something sometimes very useful. And I still disagree with the notion that trading with one person gets you ahead of the table. if you do X minus 1, it gets you ahead of the whole table, while trading with one person gets you even or worse than your one trading partner.
So I'm going to try to elicit perhaps some of our listeners' games in their heads. How many times have you seen a faction who's you're allied with or is on the other side of the board, and there's a wormhole there, and you know that one faction could either come through the wormhole into where you are, or they could deal with someone who's right next to them? Well, if you make allies with someone over there and pay them through this method, then less worries for you that this other faction is going to come to your slice. And in fact, this has happened. And there's been times where I've seen factions bounce from the brink because I have given them this opportunity, and it has allowed me to benefit.
Yeah, but that's like when you use diplomacy, it pays off. If you do war funding for one party that profits you, that's always great. But that's, I think, out of the scope of the discussion about like just like raw power and raw mechanics of the X minus 1 trade, because that's something completely different.
Granted, I probably got a little passionate there with
I mean, it's the same as saying like giving somebody the research agreement and the proper tech to kingslay someone with a bioweapon that kills like some 50 Litani warriors. That's similar, but not as extreme, I guess.
All right, we're into the final bell, as they say. I'm going to ask you both to keep your blows up, keep them above the belt. Okay. We're in the final stretch here. The final topic. Is there a slippery slope that we need to be aware of? And by that, I mean, are we getting into a case where refreshing the commodities for that charge of one commodity or one trade good without a guarantee for a trade? Kazadoom, your floor.
I mean, you can kind of circumvent it by purchasing their trade agreement for their commodity value -1. That basically ends up doing the same thing.
But is this slippery slope not something that worries you? And it does worry me. In fact, it does more than worry me. It irks the hell out of me. I think the second game happened. It was just today where someone asked me for a single one of my commodities. And I was like, why? It's like, because I refreshed you last round and we weren't neighbors. Like, hold on, hold your horses. I'm already against X-1 as it is, as everyone who's listening to this can tell. But if you want one of my commodities for free just because you refreshed me without the guarantee for a trade, then hell's no, that's not happening. And so, you know, just trying to not be too much of a douche about it, I was like, okay, listen, I would even do the meta with you, but you have no commodities. So, you know, you want these, we're gonna have to like negotiate here. So this I think this X-1 has already started to tip over the edge to this silly, you know, I refresh you, you give me one of them no matter what. It's I think that's oh.
I mean, if it happens without your consent, I'm always like, nope.
Yeah.
You didn't even ask me. If I wanted that, I don't want the stupid commodities. I don't want to pay for them. I never wanted them.
Guys, I'm glad you and I are on the same picture here. We might differ on the X-1, but this refresh thing for a free commodity. I
mean, I do it every now and then, but then in the end, you have, like, if you do it in the early game, round 1, you just have to find yourself a partner to trade with on your own, and then ship over the commodity because you're a kind person and honor your trades. That's okay, but that's something to discuss before doing it, I guess.
That I can agree with.
I'm really happy that we were able to get that fairy tale ending here with you guys coming together. Thank you for that. Thank you both on behalf of our listeners for this clever and intelligent debate. Final thoughts, were you guys persuaded by each other's arguments at all? Because I know I was a little bit persuaded.
No, but to be fair, Nothing Kaza could have said would have persuaded me because I am completely and irrevocably biased against this meta. It's just no.
How about you, Kaza? Anything
I mean,
from Hippos bring home?
If I'm honest, if I can get the X-1 trades off with the table as the trading person, I'm always happy. And if I can make profit off a free refresh, I'm also always happy. So independent of what situation you're in, you just have to find what works in your situation.
Beautifully said.
And I mean, the point of like strengthening somebody or your neighbor and yourself is absolutely valid. But sometimes you just want to cash in all those juicy trade goods.
Trade goods when the right objective is up, very powerful.
Yep.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both again. This has been truly enlightening. I think we have spent enough time stalling in this timing window, so let's hit that pass button and keep the game moving.
Twilight Imperium 4th Edition is a game of galactic conquest and diplomacy with fans around the world. It was designed by Dane Beltrami, Corey Konieczka, and Christian Peterson with art by Scott Schomburg, and published by Fantasy Flight Games. Please support the official release and your local game store by purchasing a personal copy. For those of you who want to enjoy Fantasy Flight's games online or on mobile in asynchronous or synchronous play, which, let's face it, is the only type of gaming we can do these days, please check out and support the Twilight Wars app. All links are in the description below.